Buckle up, history buffs, because we're about to embark on a wild ride through a century that turned the world on its head. You've seen empires rise and fall, watched civilizations crumble and rebuild, but nothing quite compares to the roller coaster that was the 5th century. This is the era when Rome decided to go out with a bang, not a whimper, and the rest of the world was left scrambling to pick up the pieces. Welcome to the years 401 through 500 Anno Domini, a time when the Western Roman Empire decided to play the most elaborate game of hide-and-seek in history. This is the century when barbarians became more civilized than the so-called civilized, when emperors were replaced faster than you could say, et tu, brute, and when the fall of Rome was so gradual that historians are still arguing about when it actually happened. So grab your togas and sharpen your swords, because we're about to dive into 10 mind-blowing facts about the century that bridged the gap between the ancient world and the medieval one, often in the span of a single chaotic Tuesday. Fact number 1. Rome got sacked so many times, it became a tourist attraction. Let's kick things off with a bang, shall we? Rome, the eternal city, the unconquerable bastion of civilization that had stood proud for nearly a millennium, got sacked not once, not twice, but 3 times in the 5th century. It's like the city was running a pillage one, get 2 free special. First up, we had Alaric and his Visigoths in 410. Alaric had actually been trying to negotiate with the Romans for years, but when diplomacy failed, he decided to help himself to the city's treasures. The Romans were so shocked, they probably spent the first day of the siege pinching themselves to make sure they weren't dreaming. Then, in 455, the Vandals decided to pop by for a visit. Led by King Genseric, they spent 2 weeks systematically looting the city. They were so thorough that their name became synonymous with senseless destruction. Talk about leaving your mark on history. Finally, in 472, Rome got sacked again by Ricimer, a Roman general of barbarian descent. At this point, the Romans were probably considering putting up a welcome sign for invaders to save time. Fact number 2. The last Western Roman emperor was named after the first one. In a twist of irony so delicious it could only happen in history, the last Western Roman emperor was a teenager named Romulus Augustulus. That's right, he was named after both the legendary founder of Rome and its first emperor. No pressure, kid. Poor Romulus Augustulus was only about 16 when he was made emperor in 475. He lasted less than a year before being deposed by Odoacer, a Germanic chieftain. Imagine having last emperor of Rome on your resume at 17. Talk about peaking early. Fact number 3. The Huns made everyone else look like amateurs. If you thought the Visigoths and Vandals were scary, wait until you hear about the Huns. Led by the infamous Attila, the Huns were the 5th century's equivalent of a wrecking ball. They swept across Europe, leaving destruction in their wake and making everyone else look like they were playing at war. Attila was so feared that he was known as the Scourge of God. He managed to extort massive amounts of gold from both halves of the Roman Empire, invaded Gaul, and even threatened Rome itself. The only thing that stopped him was his own nose bleeding to death on his wedding night in 453. Talk about going out with a whimper after living with such a bang. Fact number 4. The Battle of the Catalonian Plains was the ancient world's version of an all-star game. In 451, the Battle of the Catalonian Plains took place, and it was like the Super Bowl of the ancient world. On one side, you had Attila and his Huns. On the other, a coalition of Romans, Visigoths, and other Germanic tribes led by the Roman general Flavius Aetius. This battle was so epic that later chroniclers claimed that the ghosts of the fallen continued to fight for days after the battle ended. It's like they couldn't bear to stop even after death. The battle ended in a draw, but it did stop Attila's advance into Gaul. Sometimes not losing is as good as winning. Fact number 5. The Roman Empire split in two and the eastern half decided to ghost the west. In 395, the Roman Empire officially split into eastern and western halves. The eastern half, based in Constantinople, decided it had better things to do than help its struggling western sibling. While Rome was getting sacked and losing territories left and right, the Eastern Empire was living it up in Constantinople, building fancy churches and laughing all the way to the bank. The Eastern Empire, which we now call the Byzantine Empire, would go on to survive for another 1,000 years. Meanwhile, the Western Empire collapsed in less than a century. It's like watching one twin become a successful CEO while the other moves back in with their parents. Fact number 6. Christianity went from persecuted sect to empire-wide religion in record time at the beginning of the 4th century. Christians were still being fed to lions for entertainment. By the 5th century, Christianity was the official religion of the Roman Empire. Talk about a glow up. This rapid change led to some pretty interesting situations. You had former pagans trying to figure out how to be good Christians, bishops wielding more power than secular rulers, and a whole lot of arguing about the nature of Christ. It was like watching a teenager go through an identity crisis, but on an empire-wide scale. Fact number 7. The barbarians became more Roman than the Romans. As the Western Roman Empire crumbled, something funny happened. The barbarian invaders started adopting Roman customs, laws, and even fashion. It's like they showed up to destroy Rome and ended up falling in love with it instead. Take Theodoric the Great, for example. He was an Ostrogothic king who ended up ruling Italy. He kept Roman administration, patronized the arts, and even tried to reconcile the Roman population with their Gothic overlords. It's like he invaded Rome and then decided to cosplay as a Roman emperor. Fact number 8. The fall of Rome was so gradual. People didn't even notice it happening. Here's the kicker. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was so slow and gradual that people at the time didn't even realize it was happening. It's like watching a glacier melt. You know it's happening, but it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment it's gone. Some historians argue that the Western Empire fell in 476 when Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus. Others say it was earlier, when Rome lost control of its provinces. Some even argue that it went on until the 6th century. It's the historical equivalent of trying to decide when exactly that milk in your fridge went bad. Fact number 9. The 5th century saw the birth of some of the most enduring legends. While the Roman Empire was busy collapsing, people were creating legends that would endure for centuries. This was the era that gave birth to the legends of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. It's like the 5th century was saying, if we're going down, we're at least going to leave behind some great stories. These legends mixed historical facts with fantasy, creating a mythical past that people would look back on with nostalgia for centuries to come. It's as if, in the midst of all the chaos, people needed to believe in heroes and magic more than ever. Fact number 10. The end of the Western Roman Empire wasn't the end of the world. Despite all the doom and gloom, the fall of the Western Roman Empire wasn't actually the end of the world. Sure, it was the end of an era, but it was also the beginning of something new. The so-called Dark Ages that followed were actually a time of significant cultural and technological development. The power vacuum left by Rome allowed new kingdoms to rise, new cultures to flourish, and new ideas to spread. It's like watching a forest regrow after a fire. At first it looks like destruction, but eventually new life emerges, often more vibrant than before. So there you have it, folks. The 5th century, a time of chaos, change, and more plot twist than a soap opera. It was the century that saw the fall of an empire, the rise of new powers, and enough drama to keep historians arguing for the next 1,500 years. Who said history was boring? Certainly not anyone who studied the wild ride that was the 5th century.